School Career Lounge session, helping you be a greater you. I'm your host, Dali Perez, and this lounge is designed to help middle and high school students prepare for life after high school because failing to plan is planning to fail. Today, we're going to talk about college transition and support services, and we're going to dive in what services are available, including academic advising, counseling, financial aid, and all of that stuff. But before we start with our topic today, we want to give a special thanks to Career Lounge session sponsor EXL, a leading data analytics and digital operations and solutions company. If you want to learn more about EXL, go to exlservice.com. Thank you to their sponsorship. We are able to bring this lounge to you at no cost. A little bit about us. We are Love Our Youth, a 501c3 nonprofit organization providing programs for youth. Our mission is to leverage the power of collaboration and uplift and empower youth and their families within our community. So before we kick off today's topic, let's learn more about our panelists today. We're going to bring them on. So please share your name, tell us a little bit about yourself, what's your current role, are your company, and why did you choose your career?
Okay, well, I'll start us off. First of all, hello, everyone. My name is Roshanta Torrance, and I am a Senior Assistant Vice President for the Global Products and Platforms team. I am responsible for our Life Pro product alongside our training and documentation. I have been here at EXL for the last couple of years. I have a very strong expertise and background in data analytics, business analysis, project management, program management, and then most recently, over the last almost decade, have been in leadership roles. So, what inspired me to go into more of a technical type of role is just my passion and desire to see things come to fruition. It's nothing more exciting than to solve for something and to be able to see an end result real time. I really, really enjoy working with our software engineers, the business analysts, the quality assurance testers who report up through my organization. We are the problem solvers. We solve for all those technical solutions to help make our product better for the clients that we serve.
I can go next. Hi, I'm Tanya. I have been with EXL for 4 years now. I'm a marketing analyst. I'll start from the very beginning. So, I did my undergrad in computer science and engineering, which laid the foundation of my technical thinking. But early on, I realized that I was more drawn towards why behind the data. So that led me to Deloitte, where I worked as a business analyst and eventually came to the US to pursue my master's. Post that, I've been with EXL, serving financial clients, helping them with brand measurement, campaign optimization, and all other things, turning data into insights. And now I'm working in training and documentation for our product. So I'm very excited, and this has been my trajectory so far.
Hi everyone. My name is Gautam Chaudhary. I have been in the industry since the last 18 years, and I started off my journey with being working for an insurance company. So I have a background in finance. I have done my master's in finance, and then I was into insurance operations. And then, as Tanya was pointing out, I was interested in IT software, so I joined a software company. So that's where my IT journey started. So initially, I started off as a business analyst, and then I worked for a lot of clients, different clients. I have worked for clients in different countries. So it's been a very interesting journey so far, getting to know people, getting to know different technologies, getting to know different platforms. It's really been very exciting. And I'm with EXL since the last 2 years as a EVP products and platforms. So there are different things that we do, and everything is related to technology. So right now I'm handling training for our life insurance platform. So yeah, that's all about me. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you, for being here today. So we're gonna start with the topic for today, which is college transition and support services. And we know that when we're transitioning from high school to college, with all of us have transitioned, there's a lot of challenges involved on that. And some of those high school students don't know that they're gonna face those challenges. So can we start talking about that? What are the most common challenges that students face when they're in that transition from high school to college?
Start off there. I think a lot of the challenges that a lot of students face is just getting used to a new environment. Right, you're comfortable. You've been in your environment over the last 18 years before you make a decision to proceed forward with college. So going into, depending upon what size campus, either big or small, it still serves as challenges because you're in a new environment. You're meeting new people, you're out there on your own. You don't have your parents right there, to tell you which way to go. It's truly going to be a journey where you self explore and you find yourself. So, a lot of the challenges are just adapting to the new environment, adapting to the change, adapting to the difference of people, as you were in your journey of elementary through middle through high school. If you stayed in the same type of community, you may have been around the same people majority of that time. So it could for some be a culture shock, depending upon where you go. But one of the biggest challenges that I know that I endured, and then I do also have a daughter who graduated from college in 2021, and a son who's actively in college now. A lot of that is just the transition coming from the home environment into something new. It is a beautiful journey if you embrace it, take it head on, and leverage a lot of the resources that are available to college students as they embark on that journey.
So as Roshanta was pointing out, one of the challenges that students face when they transition to college is a kind of disconnect, from their families when they when they join college. So they have a set of friends all throughout their school life, and when they come to college, it's a different environment altogether. It's like new people, new stuff, new things. So some students, they might, most of us, in fact, including me, when I joined college and when I was away from my home for the first time, I used to feel kind of a little homesick, and that's very natural. Many of us don't like to admit it and say it aloud that we are feeling homesick. That's perfectly okay. But then the thing is, you have to do some emotional adjustments. You have to acknowledge your feelings. So a lot of us, what we tend to do is that we just try to run out of that feeling, we don't really want to admit that we are kind of feeling lonely, and we want to belong to somewhere, some new place. So you have to mentally adjust to that kind of a setting. So it takes time. It doesn't happen in one day. And also, when you join college, you have to work on building your support system. That is something which again takes time. So you build new friendships, you talk to your fellow students, you talk to your professors, you get engaged in different activities, and slowly over a period of time, what will happen is that you'll get adjusted to your new environment. You'll start enjoying it. And I mean that's it. So I think we should not be really very afraid of leaving home and joining college, and just enjoy the journey and then focus on the good things. Yep.
Can add, and I can add two more points. One is comparison overload. When you go to college, you're suddenly surrounded by so many new people from different backgrounds, privileges, skills. And if you're not careful, it can trigger self worth questions. So you have to be very careful and navigate this by remembering that comparison is thief of joy. And the other challenge could be pressure to figure it all out. From internships to job to having a social life to attending parties, and it is difficult. So you will a lot of times feel that you're falling behind. But at that point, we should remember that everyone here is doing for the first time. And even if they fake it, nobody has it all together. And I think that can help them navigate through these challenges.
That's amazing. So one of the things that you mentioned is like do not compare to others, get that support system, and then getting used to that new environment, right? So how can they, prepare themselves to that? And it's important to put in place the orientation programs because sometimes it's difficult for people in general to look for help, right? To acknowledge that I need help or this is not working or I feel overwhelmed and all that. So what role does the orientation programs have in this transition and how important it is for them to get into these orientation programs?
Orientation to me is the game changer, if you will, because through that orientation process, you're there with everyone else for the first time, just trying to hear about the institution, understanding dynamics, and and a lot of the times they have students who have been through the journey, right where you're going to start, there to help give you tips and tools to be able to take those and put them in your toolkit, if you will, as you proceed forward. One thing about the orientation programs, I think a lot of institutions are starting to implement this, is you can stay on campus for a few days over the summer before campus even starts. It is a great program for students who want to, get to know about the campus, get the feel or the vibe of the campus, get to know other students before the school year actually starts. So orientation programs, I say, are the best. It gives you, the student, the opportunity to understand about the campus, and it also gives the parents an understanding of, what does the campus have to offer? What are the programs there? Orientation is a place for you to get that foundation. There's a lot that you can gain from orientation, not only just understanding the different places on campus, because through the orientation process, usually you'll take a tour of the campus, you'll get to meet some of the students, you'll get to hear about a lot of the programs that they offer on campus, how to get involved. For example, my daughter, she went to IU. So one of the things that they have is be involved, the IN for, in Indiana. So they want students to connect and lean in, to be involved in a lot of the different offerings on campus. A lot of campus, through the orientation programs, they talk about the cultural things there. They want everyone, most of the campuses, they want everyone to feel like they are part of the campus community. So through those orientation programs, you get to learn a lot about the campus. You as a student can learn, you can hear from other students, and then the parents can also learn and get to know, what they're getting ready to pay their money for, or, make a commitment to with their child before the school year starts. So please, 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 I can't stress it enough. Orientation programs are key. I did an orientation program back in the day when I went off to college. I remember it just like it was yesterday. It's a memory you will have that will last forever. So please, 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 please take advantage of any orientation programs that the colleges offer. I think it's very, very important.
Awesome. One of the things that I think it was Gotham that mentioned was the support system, and also I want to get into next to that the involvement that we need to have or they need to have, right? But going back to the support system, how can they build that? How important it is, and how can they build a support system, or what does that mean? Because when we say support, sometimes people think, oh, I need to go to a therapist or I need a professional, which in sometimes you need, right? But when building, when thinking, okay, this is my support system, or who are those people, right, that they need to have in their corner? How does that look like?
I can take this one. Honestly, from my experience, I feel you only need two kinds of support. One being your personal connection. This is someone you go to when things get hard. You're feeling homesick, anxious, stressed. This person has to be your emotional anchor. Somebody you can be vulnerable with. This could be a friend, this could be some family member, but you have to be real with this person. The second kind of connection is a guide or a mentor. Somebody who's been there and done that. Somebody who can give you a perspective of what lies ahead, a bigger picture. And if you have these two support, you will not only survive, you will thrive college. Because if you have someone who can walk with you through the journey and someone who can guide you, that's all you need. Because I think having or casually knowing 100 people would never help you. But having two people you can count on in times of need, that creates support system. That tells your mind you are safe. So I think having one in each category is important. More would be ideal, but real connection is the key.
I just like to add to what Tanya was saying. So it's very important for us to build a support system. So, as we were discussing, like when you join college initially, you might feel a little disconnected from your like family and your familiar environment. So you start off with the orientation. During the orientation, you come to know about, you get to know about a lot of stuff that is happening in the campus. And as Tanya was just mentioning, it's like very important to create a support system. And this is something which will just not happen, meaning like, over a day. It'll take some time. So as you get more familiar with your environment and your friends, be open, talk to people, and as you talk more, you'll understand, like, how people are and their likes and dislikes, and like, how they match with your likes and dislikes. So eventually, over a couple of weeks or maybe over a couple of months, you will indeed meet people, someone or maybe a group that will be your support system. So with some of these, you'll be able to open emotionally, and that will put you in a safe zone mentally. You will feel wanted, you'll feel belonged, you will feel liked. That's very important. And then on top of that, like, as you go about getting involved in different activities within the campus, right? It could be some, like, student organizations will be attending campus events, and then you will probably join some, volunteer opportunities. So as with time, you just sort of expand your network, because networking is very important. So beyond the support system, as you start building your support system, initially it will be just a set of people, and then try to expand, like, try to sort of, talk to more people, and just sort of try to understand their perspective of things, like what they feel about the campus, what they feel about the studies, what they want to do in their lives, exchange ideas. So that's how it happens, and I think all of us have gone through this journey. So it just takes a couple of weeks. So don't rush yourself, and give yourself some time and space. So eventually, like, things do fall into place.
That's amazing. And definitely, I agree 100%. It was my journey as well. In college, I remember those days as the beautiful days. I love those days when I was in college because I was extremely involved. And I don't know if any of you, and I want you to share if you were member of something besides, the classes and all that, if you were in any organization or sports, and how did that help you in your journey. For me, when I was in college, I was a cheerleader. So I had a scholarship for that. So I started at 7 a.m. I was a full time student. So 7 a.m. towards 2 p.m. Then I went to coach middle school for cheerleading. Then I go back to the college to practice from 5 through 10 p.m. So that was every day from Monday through Friday through 7 a.m. until 10 p.m. And I remember those days as the best days because I was so focused, so involved, and that kept me like in my right path. So, what has been your experience, or what can you see from that in getting involved in different aspects? Because it's not just sports, right? There's a lot of stuff that you can get involved in college.
So for this one, I would say when you join clubs or do extracurricular activities, first it helps you find your tribe, your people who share common interests. So it becomes a point of bonding as well. Second, you can make your identity out of academics. You are just not your GPA. So having these extracurriculars where you build, you create, gives you that holistic development, makes you a personality instead of just someone who has been good in academics. And then the most important skill you learn is first, you get to know about yourself, and second, you get to know how to deal with people. And I feel that's the real world skill you build. Because outside of college, you will definitely apply these skills. You might or might not apply what you learned in academics, but this will come in handy in the long run. So, being involved in clubs or these activities have really helped me during my college days. And I think some of my core memories comes from these events that I was a part of.
Well, for me, I tapped in and leaned in a lot too. I was a cheerleader all my life. Unfortunately, I didn't go off to college and do cheerleading. I took a break from it, when I went off to college, but I tapped a lot more into a lot of the business type of organizations, NAACP. I did a lot of volunteer work while on campus, giving back to the youth and other students, right, to kind of reach back. My son, he's an athlete, right? So he's an athlete in college and he's a part of different organizations. My daughter, she was in every single organization you can name. She was very, very active on campus. So for me, I leaned into a lot of those business type of organizations, trying to learn from others who had a like mind, who was headed down that same track as me, and then when I went into my master's studies, by that time I was already in my career. So I joined a lot of organizations at that time, more career oriented organizations. So I think through joining organizations, it allows for you, like Tanya said, to find your tribe, but it also builds that network. So when you graduate from college, you have that strong network of people that you can lean and tap back into, in your later years in life, be beyond college. So it is very, very important. I can't stress it enough to be a part of campus. Being a part of campus life allows for you to not only meet people, but it's the best years. There's a lot of different things that I can remember, fond memories, just thinking back to those days. So I think it's very, very important to lean in. You will find something on campus that is of interest to you. There's always something for everyone. So just get out there, explore. Don't stay in your dorm rooms. Get out there. That's the way you're going to find out what's going on. And typically in the first couple of weeks of school is where you're going to get thrown all these different clubs and organizations, all types of different events on campus so that you can understand what's going on. I will encourage you to just get out there and you'll be amazed by just putting yourself out there what you will find.
To this, I just add that, like, when you join colleges, and then when you have all these wonderful opportunities to, like, be a part of different organizations or different clubs within the campus, the first thing that I feel, like, when I look back, what I feel is that is sort of focus on your interests or your priorities. So typically what happens is, like, when you form a group, or, like, when you join college, maybe you have, like, have you have a group of friends, and then you see, like, all of them joining a particular activity. Maybe let's say that you have a football club, and you personally don't like football, right? So you have, like, your friends joining football, and at that time you might feel pressurized to join that. So this kind of things happen. So that's the reason why you should be prioritizing your interests first. So when I was doing my masters, I remember there were some music clubs and there was a reading club. So I like to read. So, I mean, from my batch, I think there was just another girl who was a part of the reading club, and the rest of them had joined all these different organizations. But I decided that I want to be a part of the reading club, and I still remember that I used to be a part of that club. We used to read all these novels, and then we used to discuss. So what happens is that, like, during your academics, there will be some pressure, like, on you to perform well. So if you involve yourself in something from which gives you happiness, that actually helps. That gives you the emotional fulfillment. You are in a happier space mentally, and then you are overall, meaning, like, you are able to perform well in your studies as well. So don't be in a rush to join organizations. Explore what is available on the campus, match them with your interests, and try to join the ones that you would like to join, and that gives you a sense of fulfillment, and that you personally feel will help you evolve as a better person.
And I agree with you 100%. There's going to be pressure, but just look, what's your future? What do you want? And then look for those opportunities that will aligns, and not
Right.
necessarily that's going to be with your near friends. Maybe you are going to be like alone in that space, but doesn't matter. You're going to find other people, like Prashanta said, your network, right? It's not what you have, is who do you know. So the more people you know, the more opportunities you have on your plate. And something Tanya said is deal with people. You're going to learn to deal with people. And it's so important, especially with the professors, because the college world is very different than high school, middle school, elementary. So the professors are not going to be like, hey, did you did this, did you did that? Either you did it or not. So how important and how can they master that communication, especially with the professor? And something I'm struggling with my middle schooler, because sometimes he needs to talk to their teachers, like, did you ask this and that, and he's afraid of doing it or not, because whatever the reason is, I'm like, communication is key, right? I'm trying to teach him that. He wants you to communicate. If you communicate, things are going to be good. If you don't, then he thinks you don't care. So how can they apply that to college, where communication is key, because now they're independent? Nobody's going to be after them. So how can they master that?
Communication, I think, with professors, because every professor have office hours, right, outside of your regular time frame of class. And so I always tell my children, I even applied this when I was in college, is that that professor needs to become your best friend, because that can be the difference of your grades, right? And if you have some things that you are struggling with, they always have time slots available for you to be able to do that. So if you feel uncomfortable with having that communication real live in the classroom, then just sign up for a time slot with the professor one-on-one, right? Because that shows your commitment to the classroom, your commitment to the grade, your willingness to learn, right? And through that, you'll build that relationship and you'll feel more comfortable with having that communication with that professor. I always say start that earlier on. Read that syllabus, understand what those office hours are, and make it your duty to make sure that you stay connected with that professor, because that is how you're going to build that rapport and feel more comfortable by doing so.
To add to what Roshantai said, yes, communication is very important. It is of paramount importance, just not in your college, but for the rest of your life. And so, like when you're in school, things are a little different. But then, when you join college, things tend to be a bit different when you're interacting with your professors. So you probably want to talk to them about something. So just make sure that before you talk to them, you do your background research, you study the topic, you come up with your questions, and initially at least try to be like be as specific as possible. So instead of asking a very general kind of a question, try to be specific, and show engagement, meaning like when you're communicating with your professors, it should not just be a one-sided like communication where they're talking and you're listening. Just pitch in, and don't be afraid. So initially, like we tend to be afraid of certain people, including professors, so that is something which is not going to help you. Don't worry about what you're saying, or if you're saying something which is wrong. So there's nothing wrong or right. Be professional, be approachable, be respectable, be respectable, and just be open with your ideas. So that's how you open up, and the more you practice, like being open about your ideas and exchanging information freely, asking questions, the more it will help you develop your communication skills. And one thing that I wanted to say is that, like when we communicate, many of us are not really good at listening, meaning we all of us like to talk, right? We talk, but sometimes we don't listen. So while communicating, it's also very important for you to listen, and especially when you are talking to professors, try to take notes. You could like take mental notes, or if you have a digital device, if you're like talking about on something, some topic, just try to take notes. Or if you enjoy writing, just take a pen and a paper, write it. So yes, I mean, yeah, that's about it.
And I think that's extremely, you hit like a key point in the sense of don't show up, go to the office hours, but don't show up for him to explain you everything. So do your research, study first, and go, okay, I studied this, I don't understand that. So it's important, right? To do your part so then he can meet you in the middle. That's amazing. So we talked about, the mental health, be got the support, your network, communication, get involved. But then suddenly, when you transition from high school to college, it becomes like a lot, right? So doing this, doing that, how can they manage the time effectively? Because suddenly I'm independent, suddenly I have all these things to do that I wasn't used to. So what could be those key points, or those tips that they can use to effectively manage their time?
I'm gonna say, and then others can chime in. I'll keep it brief. Don't spend a lot of time partying. Now, partying is a part of the college experience. We're not saying don't enjoy the parties, but the problem is when you don't know how to balance, the social aspects of college alongside why you are there, which is to ultimately get in and out and pour, right? Get that degree when everything's all said and done. I think it's a different story for everyone. You have to understand your balance. You need to always make sure that you're locking in, understanding what that syllabus say, what those commitments are. If you're someone who is actively involved on campus, make sure you consider those things that you're engaged in as a part of that, in addition to your work. So I think the key here is don't party too much. You can add that to your scope of the things that you do while you're on campus, but make sure you understand what each class requires, and take a moment to balance out your week. You can get a whiteboard, you can plan things out, planner, whatever works for you, sticky notes. There's so many different tools, apps. There's so many things today that could help you get organized. create a study pattern, create a study plan, and most importantly, whatever you create, stick to it, right? Don't deviate from it, create that balance.
I'll be brief. As Roshanda was pointing out, you actually need to plan and prioritize. So, it's very essential for you to, like, build a timetable. Try to stick to it. So, if you're getting up at 6 a.m. in the morning, so it should be like 6 a.m. in the morning every day, and then plan out your day and plan out your weeks in advance. And also, like, you will be faced with situations where you might feel that certain activity is taking a lot of time. So it's important for you to understand that, like, if something seems like a very big task, you can probably bring it, like, sort of decompose that into smaller chunks so that it appears more achievable. So that's one thing. And also try to beat procrastination, because that is something which all of us suffer from. So when we are doing something, we tend to become a little lazy, right? So don't entertain that. And also, like, typically in a college, in a typical day, you'll have, like, so many activities. So maintaining a routine and a timetable is, it's very important. And also make sure that you take ample rest and take care of yourself, because I mean, in a rush, sometimes that is something which we really don't, like, we tend to forget that we have to take care of ourselves as well. So balance out everything. Some time to take care of yourself, some time for your, hobbies, activities, and the rest of the time when you're studying. So try to maintain that routine, and initially it might be difficult. So you might feel a little, cluttered mentally. But if you, like, do it over a couple of weeks, then things will fall into place.
That's awesome. And put it in the calendar, right? So time for yourself, the same one that you put in the calendar, that you have this class, that you have this activity, whatever that is, plug it in the calendar, time for me, whatever that looks like, because it's important to maintain that mental health, and all that. So for the last question, what could be the last advice that you will give the teens that are, transitioning right now to through college? What would be that advice that says you cannot forget about this?
Take the time to select the correct college for you. Don't do not be afraid if you find something that really connects to your spirit, but is a little bit further away. Don't be afraid to, leave your hometown to go off to college. Make sure that you really, really understand what program you want to go into. What desire do you have? Take advantage of orientations, research. So my biggest takeaway for this would be, before you embark on this 4-year commitment and journey, make sure that you've done your research up front while you're in middle school and even through high school. Use that as that lead time that you need, so that by the time you get to your senior year and you're walking across that stage and you're going to get that diploma, that you already know in the back of your mind, hey, I'm so excited because this is where I'm going when the summertime is over with. So take advantage of that lead time. Start now, because in middle school is when I started. I did my first college visit in middle school. So by the time I graduated in high school, I knew exactly where I was going to go. So take advantage of all that lead time and make sure that you truly understand. And sometimes you may not know. I will say sometimes you may think you want to go off to school for this, and then you may decide later, I want to do something different. But have a general idea. And I think that through just visiting colleges and doing your research, you may find out some programs that you didn't even know about. So just use this time to research and then make that commitment to yourself. This is a commitment to yourself, and you want to make sure you've done your due diligence before you make that decision.
I can tell you something that I wish somebody had told me when I was going to college, and it is knowing the difference between what's cool and what's uncool. Just because a bunch of popular kids are doing it doesn't mean it's right. Like sleeping 3 hours, uncool. Bullying someone for confidence, uncool. Skipping meals, not taking care of yourself, uncool. And you know what is cool? Saying no when something doesn't feel right. Hanging out with people who challenge you. Taking care of your mind and body, how we discussed, you should have 2 hours, one for your physical health, one for your mental health, daily, consistently. And I can tell you from my experience, all the cool kids you see now, you might not see them after graduation. But the quiet ones who has been steady, who have been disciplined, would be flying business class. The weird ones will be trending on TikTok. So the point here is to make systems that serve you, and it could be different from everyone else, and that is what will make you you. So, no pressure, just focus on having fun in college while upskilling yourself.
That was very well said. I would say that there's a saying which goes something like, "You walk this way only once, make a difference." So the days that are in your past, try to make the best. So I mean, all of us, like, at some point of time, we think about our college days. So they don't come, like, every day. So there's a certain point in your life when you go to college. Enjoy your time. And also, when you go to college, there are a couple of things. So the first thing is that, like, you get these, like, this enormous sense of freedom, like, when at home probably you are surrounded by your parents or relatives, or people from your city where you're staying in, right? But when you go to college, you have this entire new bunch of people, you're seeing new things. And so you get this freedom. But at the same time, it's also very important to remember that you should sort of balance, you should form a balance between freedom and responsibility. So it should not be like, all freedom. You should always remember, like, why you have joined college, because that's your responsibility. It's your responsibility to, like, study well and complete your degree. So that's one thing. Just remember that. Try to build relationships early on when you join college. It starts from day one, because, like, some of these relationships will stay with you for the rest of your life. And trust me, like, once you go to the like once you start working, you'll also meet a lot of people. But I think it's the people who you meet in college, because these are the ones that you have spent a lot of time with. They understand you well, so they will be always there. Like, many of them will be there along your journey. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Sometimes you might make mistakes. It's fine to make mistakes. And the biggest thing is that you should always be ready to embrace discomfort, be it in college or after. So initially, like, when you join college, you'll not feel comfortable, right? So you'll come across many situations that will challenge you, that will make you uncomfortable, right? So don't be afraid. So embrace those challenges, embrace those feelings of, like, things that don't really make you feel comfortable. And so that's how you become stronger, right? And take care of yourself. And last but not the least, always stay curious. Just not in your college, even after you finish college, and when you join, when you start doing jobs, always stay curious, because curiosity is something, it is a doorway to knowledge, right? If you stop being curious, you stop learning. So try to stay curious as possible, because the more you want to learn, the more you'd want to, like, the more you would want to, like, talk to people, see things, do research, and read, right? So that makes you a better person. Actually, learning is something which never stops. We learn every day. So just make sure that, like, don't curiosity is something which should be non-negotiable. So always stay curious.
This has been amazing, amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time, for being here, and to share your experience with these teens. Thank you to our lovely panelists for taking the time. It is so important that you are part of these career lounge sessions. And thank you for joining us. We hope today's conversation has given you insight and clarity on making plans for life after high school. Special thanks to the Career Lounge session sponsor EXL, a leading data analytics and digital operations and solutions company. If you want to learn more about EXL, go to exlservice.com. Thank you to their sponsorship. We are able to bring this lounge to you at no cost. We look forward to seeing you at the next Career Lounge sessions. Remember, all the sessions are here on YouTube, so make sure you go to our playlist, watch them all, like, share, subscribe, comment, and be here in the next session. See you soon.